Welcome to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me, as always, Mr. Clay Russell. Clay, how are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. It's so nice to be on your show, Andrew.
Is it my show? Is it? Are we there yet? Can
For the
we
first 5
acknowledge?
seconds.
I feel like you just formally acknowledged I am, in fact, the better host. Which is a statement you've challenged several times.
No, I would definitely say that you're the better host.
I feel like just an episode or two ago, you told me verbatim that you were a better host than I was,
For Courtney.
which is why my wife and you have chemistry.
Yeah, I was a better host for for your wife, not for the rest of the world. It's just that connection.
I understand. I understand. What's been going on with you, brother? How are things?
You know, things are good. I just got back from Baton Rouge. Was in Baton Rouge yesterday. So Miss Lily Harvey was speaking at. So Senator Bill Cassidy, our U.S. Senator, wrote a bill called Halt Fentanyl, and it was signed into act by President Trump. And so yesterday was Louisiana's press conference for that. And so Miss Lily Harvey got to talk. Miss Tanja Miles, there's a dear friend of mine from Baton Rouge. She's a pastor and a pastor's wife and a great advocate for those dealing with substance abuse, shared the stage, and also Sheriff Kevin Cobb. So,
Hey.
So I got to be on stage for that hour-long press conference with Lily and Tanja and Sheriff Cobb. So that was a good thing, and also the senator. So everything was good. We had a good time there and just bringing awareness about fentanyl. And, Sheriff Kevin Cobb said something very interesting yesterday, and I think it's something that we know, but it's something that, I don't know, just kind of caught me yesterday. He said that when he quit being sheriff, which was like March or April, that 80% of all the drugs, this is in northeast Louisiana, rural country, but he said 80% of all drugs that they seized, because they test all the drugs, 80% of them had some version or some percentage of fentanyl in the drugs.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So 4 out of 5 times, if you think you're getting a joint or marijuana, or you think you're getting a Xanax, or you think you're getting a Percocet, or whatever, even though that 4 out of 5 times you're getting that, but you're getting something else with it. And so that's kind of difficult. That's a difficult thing. And so anyhow, it was good to go to that rally, good to go to that press conference and see that God's still, using his people to carry out his message. There was a message of hope, a message of trusting in God, a message of togetherness. So we enjoyed all that and had a great time. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will say, speaking of Kevin Cobb, I feel bad for whoever the next sheriff is going to be. And there are some great men in that race, but what a tough act to follow. Yeah. Kevin did such a great job for such a long time that I feel like there's going to be a lot of, well, if Kevin were here, that you're just not going to be able to get away from. And, and whoever wins is going to do a phenomenal job. I've no question about that. It's just he cast a big shadow.
He does, and I think us having a transition right now where David Rigdon, who was there right alongside Kevin for so many years, where he is the sheriff right now, I think that he has done a great job in that transition. Yep. And I'm glad that we had a transition because if it would have gone straight from Kevin to whoever the newly elected person is, I think it would have been a lot worse of what you said, and I think what you said is for sure going to happen. But with David kind of bridging that gap a little bit during that time, and also if he stays on, in that role, as the deputy sheriff role, I think that's going to help with that situation. But I heard, well, I'll tell you who said it. It's Kevin's wife said it. Tanya and I were talking last week, and she said, in a lot of ways, Kevin is a larger-than-life character. He's influenced many generations and many people in his amount of time, and so that is a difficult thing to follow that up.
Yeah,
you know.
and that's not a wife just pumping up her husband. He legitimately is.
Right.
When I came here having no knowledge of Franklin Parish, it wasn't a week before I knew Kevin Cobb.
Yeah.
And had no reason to know Kevin Cobb. But it's just, he is, I don't even know how to describe him. That I think that what she said just kind of is the best way to do so. And so, man, it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. And it feels nowhere in life is perfectly safe. But I will say that it does feel a little bit safer in Franklin Parish than a lot of places. And so, I'm thankful for the people who are, part of that.
And I will say this, Kevin and I talked a few years ago, or a couple years ago, and we talked about that we needed more of a presence in Baton Rouge in this area. And we see it. I mean, even like yesterday, the senator brought out that, hey, we had somebody speak from Lafayette and another one from Baton Rouge and another one from, the North Shore and then one from North Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So it's like North Louisiana is kind of like gets one vote and everybody else gets a vote, and sometimes Shreveport will get their own. But there needs to be a voice up here. So you're doing your best if you got one voice for all of North Louisiana, but they get multiple, and so Kevin is able to be that voice for a lot of people. And I just want to say this: I've been able to see him in action in Baton Rouge 3 times now since he's been there in a few short months, been in the same areas, and he is where God needs him to be right now. Yep. He is in an element that everybody can't be in. He's thriving in that element. He's still learning in that element, but he's doing a great job. So I know that we miss him up here, but we really are going to be able to use his voice down there. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Our little family has just been kicking into high gear. We're always, people who work hard at the things that we do. We've really kicked everything up a notch here lately, and Courtney and Aria have been just grinding in life in a good way, and they're working really, really hard. And Aria started jiu-jitsu this week, and man, she's loving it. Yesterday was her second day. And, people assume that I've been teaching Aria jiu-jitsu her whole life because, it's such a big part of my life. But it is not true. I never wanted to force that kind of stuff on. It's obviously something that eventually they were going to learn. But I never wanted to force them before they were ready for it because it's not like reading, Like you need to learn to read when you can read. But fighting's a little different, She's with me. Or Courtney everywhere she goes, so she's well protected, but she's ready, and she asked, and so now we're full bore running into the jiu-jitsu world, and so she got to go to her first class on Tuesday. Well, she went to a class when she was like 4. We had a little class years ago before COVID, and COVID shut it all down, but she went to her first real class this week, her second class yesterday. She is loving it, man. And she's just working so hard, and she did so good. She's training with these boys who have been training for a while, and they're a little stronger than she is, and a couple of them a little bigger, a couple of years older, and she's out there just giving it everything she's got, and she's doing a phenomenal job. And so I'm just super proud of her because, and this is what I was talking to Hayes about yesterday is, you really find something out about yourself in a fight. Like everybody, we've talked about it before, everybody always believes they're going to rise to the occasion. But until you're truly put in a situation where you're made to feel helpless, you don't know yourself. Most people think that when they get there that they're going to bulldog their way out of it. But the reality is, and I've seen this from years of combat, most people actually quit.
Yeah.
Most people quit. You get down there and you'll just feel. I can feel the moment when it happens, and that's when you finish them. But you can feel it. You feel the life leave them, and then it is over. Most people don't shove through those moments. And just watch little Ari out there just in these horrible spots because she doesn't know anything. She's just learning it. In these terrible spots, she ain't quitting. She's shoving and pushing, and it was inspiring in a way, to see such a little girl with such a small amount of almost no knowledge, just give that level of effort till the bell rang every time. And man, I'm just super pumped up, super proud of her because I got to see for sure she is not a quitter.
Yeah.
And I assumed she wasn't, but I didn't know. You don't really ever know until you're truly up against something you can't overcome. She wasn't going to win yesterday. We all knew. I knew, she knew. But she kept going anyways. And that takes an amount of courage that is it's hard to muster up when you know you can't win.
Right. But you still push through.
Yeah.
That level of determination will help you in anything. It really will. And I'm not 100% sure that she knew that she wasn't going to win, but because she doesn't have enough knowledge. But at the same time, she's pushing through no matter what, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You having the knowledge, knowing, but for her, hey, she's just giving it everything she's got.
She didn't know because I told her.
Well, there's that.
I wanted her to not be crushed by a loss.
Right.
And that can be something that's most people who come into the gym usually come in to teach us a lesson that, hey man, I'm built different. That's how most people come into the gym, and they leave feeling totally different. Most of them never come back because their ego took too much of a hit and they can't recover from it. And so they'd rather just avoid the reality that they've now been introduced to than confront it and make themselves better. I didn't want her to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, look, you're not supposed to win today. You shouldn't win today. These kids are bigger than you. They've been training longer than you. It is most likely the scenario that you get whipped around today. It's okay. That's all right. That's expected. It won't be forever. Just for a little while. So she was mentally braced with that reality.
You've let her know, but you also let her know that, hey, there is a chance.
Yeah.
And for a person that has determination and a person that has desire and stuff, that's all you really need to know is that there is a chance.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not supposed to win. More than likely, you're not going to win. But in their mind, that person's mind, hey, there is a chance. I got a chip in a chair.
Yep.
And I love it. And that I've seen that over the years. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about how gifted you are. It's all about do you have that desire to be able to press forward and do things even when people aren't looking, even when it's difficult, and those things. And I like what you said about, people would, just tend to think that Ari has been training her whole life because that's a big part of your life. Well, it's the same way with me. We, none of my children played music, and that was, when I was their age, that's all I did. And, now we taught them songs at a young age, everything from, the Wiggles to, to Do You Want Fries With That, to, different things. And so we taught them all kind of different music and sang a lot, but we never pressed on them and stuff. In fact, a lot of the stories of me playing music and stuff are just now coming out. My children know some of that, but now they're running into people. Now they're seeing, signs up. They're seeing concerts. They're seeing different things that their dad was a part of that they didn't even really realize that much. And so now it's starting to resonate with them a little more. It's just we just didn't talk about that a lot because we didn't talk about us. We talked about them. We're not trying to live through our kids or whatever. I feel like I lived my life. I lived my life in music. We did what we did, and it was a great run. And now I'm in a different part of life, so we didn't push all that and everything. And then during COVID, I think it was during COVID, or maybe another summer or two. Annalise thought that she was going to be bored, so she went and got a keyboard, or borrowed a keyboard from somebody, and taught herself how to play keyboard. And I always knew that she could sing, but she never sang in front of anybody and stuff. And now, just a few years later, she's leading worship. And I didn't teach her how to play keyboard. I didn't teach her how to sing. Now I've encouraged her to be able to do those things and step out in those things. And then when we got ready to start a church, Cooper's like, okay, are we going to have a praise team? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what you going to teach me how to play? And I mean, he's, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And he picked up an acoustic guitar a couple times, and that's it, And then, so we buy a drum box, teach him how to play drum box. And then the last 3 weeks, he taught himself how to play bass guitar. I had one lesson with him, taught him an easy way of the notes on bass guitar, taught him the proper structure and fundamentals. And he took that, and 3 weeks later, he wanted me to approve that he was good enough, and he was. So I come and listen to him, he was. And so Wednesday night, he took stage as the bass guitar player,
How cool,
and
man.
so I always knew that they would have the talent, and everything. Elena's got more rhythm than almost anybody I know, and I always knew that they had the talent. But I wasn't trying to live through them, I lived my life on that. But now they're able to do those things, and I love it.
How cool, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, that's awesome. A quick shout out to a new sponsor. You notice I have a new hat on today.
I do.
A hat you've never seen. This is for the Delta Rigging Company. It's a company out of Central Louisiana, and they basically make products to make your hunting and fishing life easier. Okay. And there's all kinds of things when you're out doing any kind of outdoor activity when it comes to hunting that it's like, man, there's got to be a more convenient way to do this. Well, this company basically specializes in things like that. When there's a little problem or something that's a little complicated, they find ways to make it easier. And so they've got several really cool products out. And one of my buddies has another company called M2 Ready Rigs, which specializes in like limb leaders and stuff like that. And man, it's just really, really excited for them and what they got going on. It's already catching on real well, and I believe it's going to be something that continues to grow. And so if you're interested, it's Delta Rigging Company and M2 Ready Rigs. Give them a look, man.
Well, that's all good, but what are they doing for us? What level sponsor are they?
They gave me a free hat.
Oh, look.
That's got to be like a bronze level sponsor, dude. How many free hats do you have from our sponsors? Let me help you.
Zero. But I have this nice mug.
I also got a mug.
Where's it at? So you didn't appreciate it enough to even bring
I don't drink on our show usually. I try not to.
I just didn't know how it was going to be received. My breakfast was ready before we started this morning.
I didn't get any breakfast.
Well, I didn't either, but I started to eat it on the show, but I didn't know how that would be received.
I mean, I wouldn't care. I mean, I'm sure we would get some hate mail. Because,
speaking of hate
mail, the
mail,
world is full of haters.
Everybody above like 40 right now has taken offense that I hate old people. And this one dude, I went to a construction site and he literally came at me. Now, good thing is the ground was unlevel and he's old, so he fell. But I'm just saying, I don't know what is going on. But I haven't called any of these people old. They just take on the title of old on themselves.
Yeah.
Was
and they're Brad
now
Clark
mad
one
at
of
me
them?
because of it. No, Brad is not one of them. But they're mad at me for something that they took on.
Yeah.
And the words of Brad Clark, it's something inside of you. Right.
Yeah, I didn't take offense to it.
Right. There you go.
So, I think
don't
that
know.
I could have if I wanted to, but that's where all offense stems ultimately, is you wanted to be offended.
I think that's what it was. They want to feel old. They want to be offended, and they want to do the things that old people do, which is say whatever they want to say, have no consequences, and smell. but it's just not trying to do all that.
I was the recipient on your behalf of some harsh feedback on your hate for old people as well.
Yeah. There was something else on last week's show that they brought a lot of attention to. It was something you said, but I can't remember what it was.
Was it really positive?
I don't remember, but it was probably more positive than the hate mail.
I feel like we had
the cucumbers.
Oh,
there was a
dude.
couple
That was
guys
so stupid.
that have problems with trauma in their life, and they're having cucumber issues.
And the only way I get any peace from the cucumber situation is knowing that I won't see them in heaven. That's the only
Don't have to hang out with them for eternity.
Yeah. I just don't see how the Lord is going to let that slide.
One more thing before we get started. Before we really get started, tonight is the last scrimmage of Cooper's high school career. Yep. So he has a football scrimmage tonight. He's playing a position he's never played before.
Quarterback.
He's playing linebacker. And, so it was funny because Becky texted him this morning and says, hey, you got a scrimmage tonight, and we haven't bought you any of those cool things that we usually buy you.
Linebackers don't wear those.
Right. So he went from wide receiver to where really you spend more time getting dressed than do hitting people, you know.
Get dressed for an hour and catch one pass.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And but your name goes into the stat sheet, you know. And but with linebacker, you just basically show up and hit people, you know.
No flash.
Right. And if there is flash, it's you flashing out on the ground. So
the only appropriate linebacker gear is one of those big neck guards. Which can make a linebacker look pretty savage.
Yeah. But when you're the smallest linebacker on the field and you wear one of those, then it's probably a little too much.
Or maybe he needs it so that he doesn't look like the smallest guy.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I could do with a little do-rag sometimes. DeMario Davis wore a little do-rag, you know, or something. Or the big shoulder deal. Who was that? Was that Urlacher that had that? Yeah. Yeah, I think those things could be good, but he's used to wearing the sleeves and, the pink socks or the little things coming out, stuff like that, but not anymore.
Well, I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him for not trying to take that with him. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So, we get to go watch him in scrimmage tonight, so I'm excited about that. It's my favorite season, football season. So, we're playing Jonesboro Hodge, and I think what's the little school up here in Farmerville by the river?
Farmerville?
Yeah.
Union?
Darbone Woods.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think they said it would be just like last year, and we played last year was Darbone Woods and Jonesboro Hodge.
Okay.
But we're having it at Jonesboro Hodge.
Well, I'm excited that this will become a football podcast for a while.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
LSU and Saints both got. Yeah. LSU and the Saints got seasons coming up. So.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So here's
one more thing before we forget time out, because Andrew called this a football podcast. If you have a fantasy football league that plays for money and you need somebody to win the fantasy football league, let me know. I have carved out a little more time in my life to where I have enough time for probably one additional fantasy football league. Just want to put it out there. I know a lot of people are drafting right now. We got a couple drafts on Sunday afternoon. But if you have a fantasy football league where you put in money and you win money and you need a very good player, or coach there, let me know. I need like one more team.
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
This
is a terrible idea.
No, it's not. This is the best idea that's ever been had on this show. If you have a fantasy football league and you're one of the leagues that does punishments for coming in last place, put one of the punishments that they have to come do an episode of Jesus Cartel.
Or at least have to appear.
And we will
tear
them apart.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And make them do weird food things on
I
the show.
I would probably say that's probably in the top 3 best ideas that you've had.
Yeah, I think it can be a fire thing. Yeah. It's like make them eat some weird.
So fire is that metaphor for really hot
Wings. Yeah. Yeah. Could be a fired thing, and we could ask them why they're so terrible in a million different ways as they answer, or as they eat these wings.
Hey, I like it.
Could be a lot of fun. Yeah. So, get to know you segment question for the week. What is something that is accepted as normal in society that you cannot get on board with?
Yeah, so I got a few other things. Not trying to beat last week too much, but guys not acting like guys is probably a big deal for me.
Can you give me an example?
So one example would be the type of creamer that you put in your coffee.
Okay. He's still on it, man.
Or the food that you consume.
What kind of food would be considered?
So if we go to, yesterday I ate at the Francis in St. Francisville.
I feel like that in and of itself is kind of non-masculine. It's called the Francis?
Very good. St. Francisville is the restaurant named after the deal. So you got this restaurant, and they got everything. I mean, they got fried ribeyes. They got country fried steak. They got,
fried ribeye sounds delicious.
Yeah. A woman got it yesterday. That's another thing. Women not trying to be women and trying to be men. That's a whole nother side.
Women should not be allowed to eat steak.
Not a fried ribeye that's that thick and that big
No
like
steak,
that.
no beef, no ribs.
But anyhow,
But
if you go there and you get the blueberry pecan raspberry salad, and they have all this fried ribeyes and all this stuff, that's
You're
that's
talking
what I'm
about like as a main dish?
I'm saying if a man does that.
As a main dish?
Yeah.
You didn't go with somebody that did that.
No, I did go with some women that ate the pot roast and the fried ribeyes. But if you go with guys and they're eating stuff like that, or the eggplant connoisseur or something like that, then that's when we have trouble.
Before you move on, I want to say that I'm on board with your take on men eating emasculating foods. I think that's a horrific thing. Now, on the flip side, and I never do this, I do want to disagree on the women eating masculine food thing.
Yeah.
Here's why. I am pro strong women.
Yeah.
I'm very pro. Like I've never been a fan of like fragile, dainty women. Like if we cut the air on too high and I'm scared it's gonna knock you over, like hey babe, let's get a steak. You know, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know you. You're a stranger to me, but I just want you to eat something. And so I'm pro the protein movement for women.
Oh yeah.
I think more of them need to get onto that board.
Hey, that's not an issue whatsoever.
Okay. But it's just usually found in these really masculine foods. Those are the ones that tend to be.
They had grilled chicken. They had chicken tenders. They got filet mignon. They got all that. I don't have any issue with that.
So it's the fried ribeye.
I'm talking about getting the porterhouse for two.
Oh.
Or the fried ribeye, or something like
saying.
that. Yeah, that's you know.
Can I get the double sloppy Joe?
Right. That's what I was referring to.
Where it's meat on the outside of one bun.
Yeah. That's what I was referring to.
Gotcha.
But so you got men, with the wrong creamer. You got men eating the wrong foods, and stuff. And then here's another pet peeve, and this is where I really want to go. And this is something I can't get along with, and that is young men that have children that think, all right, so this is young men that's married, they're having children, and they forget that they're the daddy. And I'm not sure how far it goes, but when I see these guys that have their own personalized diaper bag or their own $300 backpack just in case their kid really needs something, and it has daddy written across it or whatever because they're doing that, I have a difficult time with that. Let the mama be the mama. Let the daddy be the daddy. And you help the mama any way that you can. But don't try to be the mama. But when I see a 22-year-old young man that is being anything but a man, I have a difficult time with that.
So, at first, I thought you were trying to throw some shade at me.
No.
And then I felt you move away from the shade at me.
Had nothing
But
to do with
then-
you. That's something inside of you.
But then you inadvertently moved back to shade
Hey.
because I
If there's something inside of
have a tactical backpack
Yeah.
that has daddy on the back of it
Yeah.
that I love. It is my favorite bag, mostly because that's what people call me.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a nickname of mine for years. And so I love my bag, but I did not buy it for myself.
you, I know.
So,
I know who bought it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
could you remind me?
I can tell you
'Cause
exactly.
I don't remember.
We're going to get in so much trouble.
I don't remember who it was.
It
But,
was bought by a dominant woman that really wants to lower your masculinity, I'm sure.
I don't
And
know.
That's exactly what happened.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We
I
can
I
name
could
some
see
names.
I could see how people would do that, but I will tell you that what that bag carries.
Not
It's
diapers.
not any. It's not anything for my kids.
No, it's it's
Now
just
my
that,
tactical fanny pack. That's a high level device.
Hey,
as well.
guys, that's totally different. That is a guy being prepared to do guy things.
Yeah.
That is a father being prepared to do fatherly things.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I see what you're
That's
saying.
the opposite.
I
of
just
this.
thought it was funny when you said it says "Daddy" on the back. It's like, no, people know me for that backpack.
Yeah,
I get
so,
constant.
So
comments
when
on
I
that one.
see a guy with a $300 backpack on that says "Daddy," that's got diapers coming out of it, and then he's pushing a stroller and everything, and then he's got a passy in his mouth because the kid just threw it out or whatever, and then the woman is walking by herself with none of the kids, with none of the stuff, carrying the biggest Stanley cup that you ever saw, and some kind of big hat just to keep her, from getting a tan. I pray for him. I do.
Gender roles matter.
Yeah, I pray for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to dig into that one day. I would like to, just because I feel like we haven't upset enough of our audience. I don't know. We still have a really good audience for all of the controversial topics
We did before last week. I hadn't checked it this week.
I hadn't either.
So the question
We still got the same
was-
amount of subscribers.
There you go. They hadn't hit unsubscribe yet.
They haven't
They just
hit
might
it.
not watch it. Yeah. So so the question was, what is a trend or what's something going on that you just can't get on board with? And that is a guy not being a guy.
Yeah.
A man not being a man. Hey, we're not saying that you got to be this insensitive caveman. No. There is great roles for the men. There's great roles for the women. All those things. I just can't get on board with a man trying to take a woman's role, a mama's role.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I will say for me, something that's normal in society that I can't get on board with, and I have, I brought receipts to prove it. I don't understand why if we ask someone to be in our wedding, like if you're a guy and you want one of your buddies to be one of your groomsmen, I just don't understand why we ask them to go rent a $300 tux. Because we don't realize, and no, look, this is not a shot at anybody because I've had to rent a lot of $300 tuxes, but my groomsmen didn't.
Yeah.
I paid for every one of my groomsmen's tuxes. And people are like, well, not everybody's got that kind of money. Let me tell you something. I did not have that kind of money. But I was not going to put that burden on their backs because I knew that they also did not have that kind of money. And so that's something that's just weird to me. It's like, hey, look, first, I want you to sacrifice your weekend. I want you to do nothing for yourself. Then I want you to travel to this place. Find you somewhere to stay while you're there. And then on top of that, I want you to pay $300 for a tuxedo you don't get to keep. You can go buy a decent suit for $300. I mean, it's not gonna be a top tier suit. You can buy a decent suit, one nice looking suit. But no, I don't want you to do that even. I would be more okay with that if they were like, hey, look, we're wearing Navy. If you could just go buy a Navy suit, I would be much more on board with that. Even though I would still probably buy the suit for them, I would at least feel a little better that it's something they get to keep.
Yeah.
We're talking about $300, and then you got to bring this back.
Right.
I know you don't live next to anywhere. I bring a suit back. It's an hour there, hour back for me to bring a suit back anywhere. And it's like that's always been weird to me. hey, I want you to do me the honor of being a part of my wedding, but it's going to cost you. And that's just strange to me. I think,
I almost feel as strong about this as I did about mine.
yeah.
Yeah, just because, growing up and becoming a Christian, at a young age and everything, and then everybody getting married, I had to be in a lot of weddings and around a lot of those tuxes. And used to there were $125, and now they're over $300. Expensive. And now having daughters, that are in their early 20s, and a lot of people getting married and stuff. But it has gone way beyond just that. So now, not only are you required to spend your whole wedding with them, whole weekend, Friday night and Saturday, and you had to go get this tux and size ahead of time, and you got to take it back and stuff. But now they, used to, there was like a bachelor party or whatever. Now there's like whole weekends. And not only do you have to go for the whole weekend or a few days or whatever, some of them 3 or 4 or 5 days, but you have to pay for that.
Yeah. And the bride or groom's part.
Right.
You also
right.
have to
they
divvy
have to
up
pay for their part.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's 5 of them there, then you pay your part and you pay the groom's or the bride's part. And then if it's if you're on the bridal side, then you have to host a shower for them and buy these gifts. And then they really want you to come to the other showers. And so I know that my daughter was the maid of honor for her best friend. And hey, that's great, and we love them and everything. But because of that, she had to go to 4 showers, and she had to go to a whole bachelorette trip, and she, the weekend and stuff. And even though it was here, it cost her, probably somewhere between about $1,500 and $2,000 to be a part of this event.
Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of money for a 21, 22-year-old person, and it wasn't the only one that they've had to do that for. Now, hey, she loved it, and it was great and everything, but I can tell you, if we would do what Andrew Skull said that he did, and that is, hey, if you're good enough, if you've been a good enough friend to me, and you're good enough to to give me this weekend and stuff, then I'm going to pay for everything. If we would do that, several things would happen. Number one, people wouldn't be going bankrupt because you got married.
Yeah.
And then number two, they wouldn't have nearly as many attendants on each side if you had to pay for them. You would really get your friend list down, down a lot further. Almost said something else, but they get it down a lot further to where it probably should be anyhow. But people invite everybody because, hey, that's more people that get to divide up me going on a free vacation.
Yeah.
It's just not right. So anyhow, this is a big pet peeve of mine. I don't like it. I think that if the bride and groom would pay for everybody's stuff, or their families would pay for everybody's stuff, then we would have a lot less extravagant weddings with smaller bridal parties, and everybody would be happier.
Yeah, and one of the challenges there is like, so for instance, I've got a big family. Courtney also has a big family. And so a lot of times people feel a sense of obligation to include me into the wedding, especially considering that I'm a minister. And my deal is like, hey, you don't owe me that.
Right.
You do not owe me that. You got your people that you want in your wedding, put them in your wedding. Do not make a spot for me because you feel like I'm going to be upset. I will not. And that's genuinely because I don't get my feelings hurt. But in addition to that, it is also going to cost me. You want me to be an usher, which is almost useless at 90% of weddings, maybe more. It's like, well, that's just going to cost me time and money that, I got 4 kids.
Well, that's a good thing about preaching the weddings. You get to wear whatever you want to wear.
Yeah.
Usually
it's just a color thing.
That's right.
I'll ask them and say, hey, look, what color suit you want me to wear?
Yep.
And I've got kind of like the base.
And if you're missing something, hey, that's something we can add to our repertoire anyhow.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're okay. But when it gets us out of renting things, at least we own it,
Yep.
So, hey, I agree with you. Men need to be men. And people, if you're adult enough to get married, then you need to be adult enough to pay for it.
Yeah. Here was my bachelor party. I went and ate at Buffalo Wild Wings with my best man.
Yeah.
We just went and had dinner. He bought me, I think it was lunch. He bought me lunch, and then I went and trained for like 4 hours with the rest of my groomsmen. And man, we had a great time.
Yep.
Yeah, and all that cost Well, one guy bought me lunch that I was willing to buy.
Yeah. I like it.
It's like it's a take care of your people will take care of you. That's it's
Amen.
a big principle. So here's the question of the day, real question of the day. Last week we talked about, what are some things that we've changed our stances on or changed our mind about over the years, because we're both people who are, I don't want to say we're fairly opinionated. I would say that we are deeply rooted in what we believe. I don't have
That's a nice way to say it.
I don't have an opinion on everything.
Right.
So it'd be hard for me to say I was opinionated, but I will tell you the things that I believe wholeheartedly, and my heels are dug in pretty deep.
Yeah.
But there has been some times that I've changed position in my life, but the couple weeks before that, we talked about marriage, and there was a marriage topic that I don't know that we've ever really talked about, and I just wanted to toss it your way and kind of see where you land on it. And here's the question, because we talk a lot about marriages and healthy marriages and counseling and stuff like that, but what is the move if you're in a marriage and it feels like it's over? Like it feels hopeless, it feels like it's not going to get any better. Like what advice would you have for somebody who is in one of these situations where I feel more trapped than I do married at this point? Because that's not uncommon.
Right.
And so I was just curious kind of where you land there.
Yeah, so my first thing is that I absolutely hate this question.
Yeah, it's a sucky question.
Yeah, it's a sucky question. This is something that I have personally never experienced myself, but I have taken on from lots of people that I've had to counsel in this area. So this is something that I've counseled on more often than not, a lot, but it's something that I haven't experienced. And so I don't know that I've always given the best advice. I don't know that I've always done everything correctly when given this, because I haven't ever been in this situation, but I have counseled a lot in this situation. Now, I would like to start by saying something, and this is the reason I was smiling when you was asking the question, because the very first thing that came to my mind was one thing not to do.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the very first thing that came to my mind. When you feel trapped, or a difficult situation in a relationship, the very first thing that came to my mind of not to do is don't read the book, The 5 Love Languages.
Ooh.
Yeah, because it's only going to make things worse.
I've heard your take on this before.
Yes.
And I can tell you, without going into any detail, I agree with what Clay's about to say.
Amen. So we just, I don't know if it's anything that we've ever shared on here, and I don't want to get into it too much. We can do another deal on that. But all that is it makes you justify why you feel the way you feel if you're in that position. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a position of feeling like you're trapped, and then you read the book, The 5 Love Languages, it's going to give you all the ammunition you need to tell your spouse how terrible of a job they're doing loving you, because they don't even understand your love language, so don't read that. Now, if you feel, or in your relationship and in your marriage, and you feel trapped, the very first thing I do want you to do is to ask God, who is the person that you need to be confiding in? Who is the person that you need to be talking to?
That's strong.
And realize that I said the person. God isn't going to give you 10 people, and He isn't going to give you the wrong person. He is going to give you the person that you need to talk to, because this situation is more than you can handle on your own. You're going to need to be able to talk to somebody to vent to, somebody to get advice from, somebody to pray with you, to love on you, to care for you, to help see the blind spots in your, in your mind and what's going on in your life. You're going to need somebody to talk to. And so pray ahead of time for the one person that God wants you to talk to. And most of the time, it's not going to be your mama. And that is also important.
Brother.
I've spent no time thinking on this, but I can just tell you, God is speaking through us right now.
I want to say amen, hallelujah, but I also know how mad someone is that's listening. I don't have anyone in mind. I just know that somebody is hot right now.
Well, yeah. Man, I heard a story yesterday And till I said this, because I mean, and we mess around and joke around on this show all the time, but I feel the Holy Spirit with us right now as we're talking about this. But I heard about a family yesterday who left the church, and they were really strong in this church. And I said, well, why did they leave the church? And they said, well, their daughter is part of the serve team at the church. And they didn't think that their daughter and husband's relationship was as holy and as strong as it needed to be. But the pastor kept them in leadership. And because of that, the parents left the church. Now, I wasn't trying to dig into it anymore, but it had something to do with how they disciplined their children.
Yep.
So here it is, the grandparents, or the parents get so mad that their daughter or son or whoever it was and her husband are in a leadership role at church because they think that they're not doing something correctly in their family.
Yep.
So they leave the church. Look, that's the reason why I said pray about who to talk to about it. It's probably going to be one person, and then a lot of times it's not going to be your mama. And the reason is because once you bring what's going on in this relationship to your family and everything, they're never going to get over it.
Yep.
Even if God tells them to get over it. Most of the time they're not going to get over it. And you will because God told you. But they're not listening to God for your marriage. They're just being emotional for you and trying to help you out. Right? And so you're the one that's listening to God about your marriage. But you do need somebody that you can talk it out with, somebody you can visit on. So the very first thing I would tell you is to pray about who it is that you need to even talk to about this. Would you like to
Dude, I think
get some of this off my back?
I think this is my favorite episode so far.
This is probably my least favorite episode.
That was killer, man. I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. People lie more than you think they do. People lie more than you think they do. In my years of counseling, the unfortunate conclusion that I've had to come to is that people lie more than I thought. And there's a reason why. Because when they're sharing their side without the presence, there's a reason that when you bring something to the court, the other person, the one you're accusing, gets to be in the room.
Yes.
There's a reason. But that's not what happens in these situations. You get away from them where they can't defend themselves, they can't explain their positions, they can't give you any context. And then you hear all of this one-sided, no context information that's also not completely true.
Yeah.
They're going to paint the situation in the way that serves them best in that moment. And here's the problem. In that moment, what they desperately want is someone to agree. And they will bend that truth however they have to bend it to make sure that you're on their side. Now, here's where things get yucky. Because eventually, they do want to repair the relationship.
Yeah.
And when they decide they want to repair it, your mama can't forget what you said. She will never
Not
forget.
going to.
She will never forget what you said. Let me tell you something. If my daughters ever came to me and told me that their husband had laid their hands on her in any way at all, I'd never be able to unhear it. And if she lied to me about that just to manipulate me into agreeing with her position on something, she has done irreparable damage between that young man and I, because he and I will never be square again. Doesn't mean I hate him, doesn't mean I can't forgive him, doesn't mean I can't still love him, but I will never trust him again. I can't. And so this happens. It'd be hard pressed to throw out a low number here on percentages. I have witnessed this. This is a daily conversation piece where I'm having to deal with people who crossed the line on the truth, manipulated a situation, and are now trying to undo what they've already manipulated themselves into, and you just can't undo it. once it's done.
And then the other side of it is the one that just doubles down.
Yeah.
Says the hell with everybody, just doubles down.
That used to be me.
That's even worse,
And so here's the thing, and this is why Clay's advice matters so much. You should never lie and manipulate. But if you're going to, it better not be to your mama.
Right.
Your friends, it doesn't necessarily matter if your friends forgive your husband or your wife. It doesn't necessarily matter. That can be avoided. But your close, intimate family relationships, those are not the views you want to taint. I'm telling you.
No, you're not. And that's the reason why I started and led with, like I said, I put no thought in this other than dealing with this all the time. But that's the reason why I said to begin with, choose the one person. And here's why. Because the less times you tell the story, the more likely you are to tell the truth.
That's true.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So if you do this, if you pray to God, I feel trapped. My marriage is difficult. I don't see a way out. I don't see it getting better, but I don't see how I could stay. Pray that God show me who I need to tell about this. Mm. And then when God shows it to you, you're more likely, if you're only going to tell that one person, to be completely honest with them. Mm-hmm. And that's the other reason why I told you not to tell your mother, because it's just so hard to be so honest with them. Because I can tell you, 99% of the time, it is not one person's fault.
Yep.
99% of the time, there is both sides of the story. There is fault in both. It might be heavy on one side or whatever. I understand that. But even though it may be heavy, it is important for you to call out your fault in these situations too. Mm-hmm. And so you find the person that you can talk to, and you be brutally honest with them. Mm-hmm. If God showed you to talk to them, then they're going to receive it correctly. Mm-hmm. And so you be as honest with them as you can, because remember, we're asking what to do when I feel trapped in my marriage. And so the first thing we're telling you to do is pray about who to talk to. And we told you that it's probably not going to be the closest to you, only your relatives. And then the second thing is to be as honest with that person as you can possibly be. Yeah. And be as honest with that person, because God's not going to show you the wrong person to talk to, and He's not going to show you a non-Christian to talk to. And so when you're honest, the Bible says in James to confess your faults one to another. Why? So that you can be healed.
That's right.
So the goal isn't to air out your dirty laundry. The goal is to be healed.
That's right.
And so in order to be healed, then we got to confess those things. So I don't want you going to your guy friend or your girlfriend and saying everything that they're doing wrong. Hey, you confess your faults and your side of that. And so, and then the next thing that I would say to do is to purge yourself of anything that you're doing that's not of God. Mm. I mean, that's good. That's my first 3 steps right off the bat. We'll let you jump in, and I'll probably come up with more. But my first one is to pray about exactly who to talk to, because if you feel trapped and you feel like this, then you're not at the point to be able to really talk to your spouse about this. I mean, that's where we want to get. Communication in the marriage is where we want to get. We're not, it isn't best case scenario to have to confide in somebody else. We're not saying that. But we're talking about a trapped relationship. So we're saying, first off, hey, pray about who to talk to. Number 2, be very brutally honest with that person. Not just the other side, but for your side. And then number 3, to ask God to remove anything in you that's not of Him.
Yep.
You want to jump in there?
Yeah, I want to first touch on something you said, where you said try to only tell the story one time. Here at Jesus Cartel, if you're not familiar or if you're new to the show, we don't cut anything. There's a reason we don't cut anything. If you and I, at the end of this episode, said, hey, let's reshoot this episode, it would sound completely different. Yeah. Because based on your reaction to some of the things that I said, based on my reaction to some of the things that you said, we realized we may not have presented some things in the way that is easiest for people to hear. But what you did hear was our honest take.
Amen.
Why? Because it's the only time we've said it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons we don't cut anything here. The other thing is once you start cutting things, now you cut everything.
Yeah. Now you're manipulating the product.
We make one cut, and now all of a sudden anything can be cut. It's like, hey, we've already done it before. We set a precedent not to cut anything, and we're careful enough about what we say, not to have to cut anything. But we also still take some pretty strong stances on some things. And there's been, I'll be honest with you, there's been some times afterwards I was like, man, I wish I didn't say that like that. It happened. Now I meant it, but I just know that it's going to land hard on some of the listeners. And so that's why it matters, because that first take is usually the most honest one.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's always completely honest, but it's usually the most honest. After that, you learn to manipulate the way people hear it.
It's hard to pray to God to show me who to talk to and then go there and manipulate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
completely agree. So now outside of that, there's two things that really, come to mind when I hear, what do I do when the marriage is over, or feel like the marriage is over, or feel trapped within the marriage. Here's my first statement. It's a hard statement. It's going to sound, both of these things will sound a hair cliche. I don't care. They're true. The first one is this. If your relationship with Jesus is not sufficient for your peace and joy, they were never going to be. Your spouse was never going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If your relationship with Jesus does not bring peace, joy, and contentment into your life, your spouse is going to be incapable of accomplishing that. It's only found through Jesus. And so the first thing is this. Where are you in your relationship with the Lord?
Yeah.
Where are you? That's the first thing that has to be considered. Is I feel trapped. I feel all of these things. Well, clearly, your contentment, your peace, your joy is coming from your spouse. That's where you're trying to find it, because you can't find it. It's not there. Why? Because they're not the source of that. They never were intended to be. So the first thing you got to do is redirect where you're trying to acquire supernatural things. Because peace that surpasses all understanding is not natural.
Yeah.
Joy in the midst of desperate circumstances is not natural.
Yeah.
Right? So you're trying to rip something supernatural out of a fleshly being.
You're trying to live a spiritual life on natural terms.
Right. So first, you got to take the bullseye off of them.
Yes.
You got to move it back to Jesus. That's the first thing that has to happen.
Yeah.
Now, it may not necessarily be easy. There may be some things that you got to do. It's going to be a little bit of labor, not because Jesus hasn't completed the work, but because you've lost sight of it. So it's going to take some labor of renewing your mind to the truth of what Scripture says about you, so that you can fix your sights back on Him. That's the first thing that has to happen. You have to be okay again for this relationship to ever be okay again. If you and Him can't get back square, you're not off kilter because of Him. You're off kilter because of you.
Amen.
If you can realign your sights and get you and Him back square, then this can be reconciled. But as long as this is off, this will remain off.
Amen.
So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing is this. It's advice from the greatest football coach ever to coach, Bill Belichick of the dynasty New England Patriots. And I think that Nick Saban has tried to steal.
So we're really going with Bill
some of it.
Belichick's marital advice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That man knows how to run a relationship. Do your job.
Amen.
Do your job.
Amen.
You have a role that is defined biblically. Do it. Not based on how you feel, not based on what you think that they deserve. You do your job. And as a husband, as the man in the relationship, as the one who is supposed to be the physical representation of Christ within a relationship, my job is to love and sacrifice for my wife despite her performance. Whether she's doing amazing or whether I think that she's doing terrible, it does not matter. My calling is exactly the same. So I need to treat her as if she has been the best wife that ever walked the face of the earth. I need to love her like she's been the best wife that's ever walked the face of the earth. I need to sacrifice for her like she's never made a mistake. Do your job.
Yep.
If you will do your job, then you will see reconciliation start to work its way back in. But it does not happen, and this is why he warns you about the 5 love languages.
Yep.
It does not happen from you looking inwardly about what you're not getting. Oh, well, he's not doing this, she's not doing this. And now all of your look is back at you. This whole marriage is about you now. As long as that's your focus, this will never be reconciled.
Yep.
because they're not going to meet your needs perfectly at all times. There's going to be times where there's miscommunication and different things like that just make things not line up the way that you hoped every time. It doesn't mean they'll always drop the ball, but there's just going to be times where things don't turn out the way that you thought that they would. And if your performance as a spouse is based on that, now, get ready, buckle up.
Yeah, we've been talking for 20 minutes or so about, what do you do when you feel like you're trapped in this marriage and it's not going anywhere or whatever. And the first 20 minutes so far, we've talked about things that you need to do for yourself.
That's right.
We're not talking about you changing your spouse at all.
None.
We're not talking about any of that. That's way down the line.
Yep.
Of anything we're trying to do. What we're trying to tell you is you got to be able to look at yourself first. But if you could self-analyze and do it all yourself, then you probably would have already done it. That's the
right.
reason why we said let God show you who to talk to, and that one person to talk to, because people can see, your blind spots that you can't see, and that's the reason why I enjoy counseling so much. It isn't that I enjoy visiting with people about their deepest. It's because God shows me what they're missing. They're in the middle of it. They're wrapped up in the middle of it. And if I was wrapped up in the middle of it, I would probably miss it too. But because I'm not wrapped up in the middle of it, I'm just on the sideline praying about it, then God shows me what they're missing. He shows me where the problem is, and that's and Andrew does so much of this counseling, and I do so much of this counseling, and that's the reason why we're telling you what we do first, and that is to, hey, look on the inside of you. I mean, where is your relationship with God? What are the things that you're doing that don't bring God the glory? What do you need to cut out of your life and and get rid of, and what do you need to get better? I mean, those are the things, and you're like, well, but I come to you because he's a piece of trash. That's fine, but you came to me, so let's talk about you, and let's see where you are right now. And those things are important. Another thing that I think is important is when it does become time, and we may be jumping a few steps, but when it does become time for you to go get counsel from a godly counselor that can counsel you, I suggest that you do it together.
100%.
Telling the story and confiding in somebody, and helping somebody help you with your blind spots and stuff. That's something that a strong boyfriend, girlfriend can do, or man friend, or whatever you want to call it. But when it's time to go get counsel, do it together. And the reason is it's like Andrew said, it cuts out a lot of the manipulation and a lot of the lies and a lot of the stuff. How many times, Andrew, have we heard in counseling, well, that's not true?
Yeah.
It's all the time. Yeah. And so people are still willing to do a certain amount of lying, betrayal, manipulation in a group setting. So you counseling with them separately, it doesn't do any good whatsoever.
That's right.
Because you get this whole misconception. I mean, I think you said a few weeks ago about you and Courtney were counseling on opposite sides of a relationship one time or whatever. And man, that can be very, problematic in a sense. And I know you were there for the guy and she's there for the girl. You got the best of intentions, and I understand that. But there's just so much room for error there. That it can cause problems and stuff, and we've all done that, and we have to do that.
Can I tell you something? Yeah. Do you know how we figured out who was being honest?
How's it?
I asked them to meet together.
There you go.
That was what I told Courtney the whole time that it was happening, because we were both getting very different versions of the story. Yeah. And I told her, I said, we'll see what happens when we get them in the same room.
Yeah.
And one of them wouldn't come to the table. Would not come to the table.
Yep.
Why? Because when you you end up at the table, you can't spin the yarn anymore. Now you got to shoot it straight, and there's too much of the story that just wasn't.
It is. I had a young lady came to me, with a situation last week, and instead of going and talking to the guy, I said, well, look, let's just get together.
Yep.
And so we got together, and it wasn't all the way that she had it in her mind, but it wasn't all the way what he would have spun to me on this side. You know, there's something inside of us that it's got to be a good thing. You know, in the sense that we have a strong sense to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, protect ourselves from from agony, protect ourselves from humiliation, protect ourselves from anything that could be a threat. And so we put up these guards and everything, but just because we feel it and just because we say it doesn't make it true. And so when we're able to talk about it in a group setting like that, there's still going to be some lying and betrayal and manipulation, but it's not nearly as much as if you do it separate.
That's right.
And just so y'all know, no matter what's going on, you might be sitting here, man, why am I listening to this? I'm not even married, But in any relationship, in any circumstance, the less amount of lying and betrayal, manipulation, all that we can do, the better the situation is going to be.
Yep.
If you can just be honest with people, I've seen people have terrible relationships because they just wouldn't be honest with the person of how they were making them feel. They wasn't trying to, it was the opposite side. They wasn't trying to bash the person. They were trying to take it so light on the person that the person couldn't even get better. You know what I mean? Nobody needs a yes man all the time. You know, we can fuel our own egos enough without having somebody co-sign on it. You know, we don't need all that. So I just saying, in any of these situations, the more honest that you can be without beating a dead horse, the better. Now, if you just keep saying the same thing over and over again and say, well, I'm just being honest, well, no, you're being a jerk.
Yeah, not the same.
But that's not the same thing. But letting somebody know what's really going on is a good thing.
Yep. Last thing for me, short tidbit, and I'm done, is don't take marriage advice from somebody who's in a marriage that you wouldn't want your marriage to look like.
Come on.
It's very simple. There are lots of good people out there. There are lots of church-going people out there. There are lots of pastors who I would never take marriage advice from, because when I look at the marriage relationship that they're in, it's just not one that I would want for my wife and I. And it doesn't mean that it's horrific. It's just not what I'm looking for. Don't take advice from those people if you don't want your marriage to look like that, because they can only counsel you towards what they have.
Yeah,
right?
So let's break that down just a little bit more, just real quick. Don't take physical fitness advice from somebody that you wouldn't trade your body for theirs. Don't take financial advice from somebody that you wouldn't trade your banking account for theirs. And don't take marital advice for somebody that you wouldn't trade your marriage. Hey, it is what it is. And don't take spiritual advice from somebody that you wouldn't trade relationships with God with.
Yep. And this is where choosing those people wisely, it's a big part of it. If the person you're choosing to confide in these situations is on their third marriage right now, is just not the right person. God will reveal the right person to you, but it should be somebody whose relationship with their spouse that you would very much want to be applied to your relationship with your spouse. I didn't want to say trade relationships, because then it sounds like, I like their spouse better than I like my spouse.
But you with their spouse is not going to be the same.
That's right.
Because you're not good enough.
Yeah, because you're the problem.
You're the problem. We can go with that all day long, but you are the problem.
Yeah. That's good. Hey, man, I'm good. You got anything else?
No, I'm good. We escaped a pretty good topic there.
I think we're okay, man.
All right. See y'all later.
Be good.